Hello, friends. Welcome back to the channel, and thank you for joining me for part 12 of 12, the final episode in this near-death experiencer compilation series. Today, we're going to be hearing from multiple near-death experiencers in answer to this question: how can we not waste our life, or how can we get the most out of this physical experience as we can while we're here? If you'd like to connect with any of my guests, I will have their names displayed on the screen as they are speaking, and I will have each of them listed in the description box with their contact links. If you'd like to connect with me, you can also find my links to my social media in the description if you'd like to support this channel. Thank you for watching. That helps out a lot just by itself, but my Patreon link is also in the description box. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy.
We have a choice as to what we choose to experience. I am always looking for the magic. I'm a firm believer in it. I was as a child, and I think that has been my saving grace my whole life, is that I know that there's wonder and magic everywhere, and so I'm looking for it, so I don't want to miss it. I want to make sure I'm wise-eyed open and my heart's open and it can show up, and I'm calling it in all the time. It's kind of like, on a simplistic level, parking karma. you know I always get not only a good parking place, but I get the best parking place for whatever it is I'm going to be doing. If I'm in a mall or whatever, I get the one that's closest to the shop I'm going to be in, closest to the door of the shop. It's easiest to access for me. And I have that because I've always trusted it would be there. I've trusted that even when I drive in and there's nothing, I will listen. I'm always in contact, so I'm listening for direction to turn right or turn left or just go around one more time. Whatever it is that Spirit's going to feed me, I just use that process, and I don't have any energy on it because I know I am taken care of. So I'm receiving graciously all the time. And because of that attitude and mindset, which was not what I had before my near death, let me tell you, I was the consummate victim. My life has been pretty amazing in so many ways. I've had divine experiences. Nothing is as divine as my near-death experience, but I've had magical, wonderful things happen. I've been privy to things that other people haven't. I just, it's been an amazing ride.
It's the old saying, just be still. Don't let your mind wander. Get a grip, pull it back, pull everything back into your heart. And if you don't know what that means, just visualize your idea of your most beautiful heart, because everyone's got their own personal relationship with the divine. No matter what religion anyone, or no religion, or it doesn't matter. It's still an individual experience. No matter what groups say, it doesn't matter. It's individual. You never go as a group into this beautiful realm of love. You all go alone. We all go alone. And so that's all. For me, I just love, just draw flowers, and that's how I see the heart. There's like a flower, and it's either cringing and shrinking, or it's expanding and blossoming. And so that's how I see it. And I just love to just make it golden, because I was in the golden light. So I see it as a golden flower. And that's my own personal little idea. All you're doing is you're getting a grip on wandering mind and emotions and bringing it all back into the heart of love. The most important thing is like that we catch ourselves out when we start to judge or criticize or feel wounded, you know, all of these things that we go, oh no, it's just one of those tricky things that I actually don't need because I'm in the love. So the more and more that I realize that I'm in the love, the less I need to do about all this chaos, you know. So the more still I can be all the time, and the more loving and kind I can be to others, and I don't have to be concerned so much about everything that's going on. Although I can be involved, and I can do what I can to help, but I don't have to. So when you do stuff, you do it knowing this will help in your heart, but you don't do it out of aggression or anger or hate. You do it out from a place of love. And so working and moving in the world from a place of love transforms everything.
Live in the moment. Don't live in the past. Don't live in the, let me just amplify that. The past doesn't exist. It's an illusion. And when I say it's an illusion, I mean, the past happened, but in our mind, with our emotions and with our needs and desires and wants and fears and and all the stuff that makes us human, we have shaped the past so that if you asked anybody else what happened that day or what did I say, they have a totally different version of it. I mean, this is well known. I mean, when people go to law school, they're all taught, you know, all the witnesses to a crime will come up with a different version of what happened. The past is an illusion. The present is very fleeting. I want to go back to that in a second. And the future doesn't exist. And in the future, there are infinite possibilities. Like one of the things that I like to do is try and practice kindness with strangers, like grocery store encounters, etc. And I am rarely disappointed. The love that's exchanged with a simple act of kindness, and just like reading the name tag on the clerk's, you know, blouse and addressing them by name and having a pleasant exchange with them, like, boy, it looks pretty gloomy outside. You're lucky you're working indoors, or what, you know, I mean, just the, you know, and they're like, oh, I worked in the service industry. I worked my way through school for 7 years as a server, and most people treat you like you're nothing, like you're a robot, you know. Just to be treated like a human being is an act of kindness. And so when I say living in the moment, love, this is what Jesus told me to do. When I asked him, what should I do if I come back into the world, which I didn't want to, by the way, he said, love the person you're with. And that's what I have tried to do to the best of my ability. Not always succeeded, but I have been trying to do that. And loving them means listening to them, not judging them, and just going with them wherever it is they're at. If you know, if they want to complain about something, listen to their complaint, because that's, you know, be sympathetic to it, be empathetic to it, etc. That's living in the moment.
Very applicable. Community building, relationship building, neighborliness, binding together across cultures. Especially, it's important to be kind to those who are different than you.
Mm-hmm.
And radically different than you, who you might not think are your friend. Treat them too the same. And it's not, Howard, you mentioned about your art, and I don't think it's egotistical to love your work and be proud of what you do. I don't think the loss of ego is what people think it is. It's the loss of attachment to self.
Yeah.
It's the loss of grasping at who I am. I still have an ego. I still have to live in the world. I still have to act. I still have interactions. But it's the attachment to myself that's lost through a daily practice of being in the now. And this being in the now, you can train your brain to live in that space.
Yeah.
And a little bit every day spills out into your daily life like a flood every single day.
Do nothing, cherish everything, to the point of your realization that this is a show that you co-created with God. Accept that so much. Do your best to understand why, but always go back to the why being, there is something here that I'm learning with regards to unconditional loving acceptance, forgiveness, some aspect of myself that I'm needing to see with clarity, which is why my external reality is being formed in this way. And then when we see that in the other and in self, to share that journey with everybody who is around us, because there is actually no separation between anyone or anything. That's what I experienced when I died, is that everything is everything, but nothing is nothing. And the only way that we see everything is through love. So to cherish every moment is to have gratitude for exactly where you are, exactly what is exactly how is. And there is no shoulds, there's only coulds, there's only possibilities in every given moment. And there is no story. The story is the subjective experience, like Howard was saying, that creates the past and creates an unforeseen future that isn't real. So knowing that that's illusion, we can kindly say, thank you so much for that show in my own mind that takes me away from truth. I choose to come back and cherish this moment and love the people that are around me and see them through the eyes of God.
Live your life, go out and do the things that bring you joy. For me, and I'm older and gray now, but I tell you what, the joy is in the little things. The joy is in the little things. I don't see a sunset anymore without thinking, wow, that's a miracle. I don't see a flower bloom without saying, wow, that's a miracle. I don't see the leaves, change on the trees and flutter to the ground without saying, wow, that's a miracle. Life, all of our lives are unique. We're going to have unique and different experiences, but our emotions are what connects us. Our emotions are what we have universal. And live life. Let your emotions flow. Be happy. Be sad. Be angry. Be joyful. Be in love. Be all of those things, because that's what we came for. That's what we came for. Here's more biblical. I remember when Jesus said, for this cause came I into the world. And as we're going about our day-to-day lives, whether that's joyful or painful, for this cause is why we came. So enjoy it. Let the emotions flow. Live your life and love the people around you. Love the people around you. Love is the most powerful force in the universe. And as you love the people around you, please remember to love yourself. I'd become so good at loving the neighbors. Love your neighbor as yourself. And the near-death experience unlocked a key for me to realize I could love myself, that I was enough, and that I had a unique contribution in this time around, in this realm. And by being it, I could simply be perfect, by simply being me. You're perfect just the way you are, so live your life and be happy.
I always come back to feeling, and that's just such a takeaway from my experiences. We are experiencing what it feels like to be a soul in a physical body. And so I would encourage people to ask themselves, if they could feel the best they could possibly feel, what would that be? And if their answer doesn't reflect their state of being in that moment, then be curious about what you can do to get there. And if you can allow yourself just a little bit of room to explore and be curious about what that would be if you were to take away all judgment, all fear, and just sit for a moment and have the faith in yourself that you are a powerful creator. We have so much creative potential. We haven't even scratched the surface. And if you could have absolute control to create your experience, would you make different choices in your life? And if you would, then what's keeping you from making those choices now? And it's just a matter of exploration, but having the courage to know that you can have those questions. They're questions that really will help you move forward. And in the end, it really comes down to your experience here is something that you can create the best feeling that you could ever imagine if you have the courage to step into it.
I think it comes down to show your whole soul fearlessly. And that's the good, the bad, and the ugly. You don't have to be some sort of paragon of virtue to be able to relate to other people and to be able to show them that love that you have within. So I guess that's what I think is, don't be afraid, be fearless, don't wear a mask and try to be something. Just be your whole soul and be it fearlessly.
Chop wood and carry water, as a Buddhist would say. I think it's important to do the work still. We're here to be human. You know, our time is there. I once went to my grandmother and I was upset because the summer was ending, and she's 97 years old, and she says, "Don't worry, we'll come back. It will come back." And I allude the summer as the infinite world. And when we're going through this in this life, we sometimes worry that this won't end. We'll never, go on. How we go through this, but we always persevere. We always move forward. We, cannot be damaged or harmed on a macro basis. And all these experiences are just there for growth, expansion, evolution, and it's a gift. So I think, yes, what Jeff alluded to, and the great Thich Nhat Hanh, lived his life by, is to focus on being versus doing. We're a human being, not a human doing, so it's in the being part.
We've talked a lot about, Jesus and the Bible. How many times did he say, fear not, become as a little child. This is where joy is. I mean, in that awe and wonder of, when my boys were little, they'd be completely entertained with a stick and a bug all day long. It was the musing of being in this body, being in this realm, having the experience we're having, and yet letting go of judgments, comparisons, fears, and simply being in that joyful state of a child in awe, saying, wow, trust. I mean, I think if I was to put in words, my faith and my beliefs were absolutely transformed through the experience into trust.
When I decided to stay, I kept getting a message from heaven, and it kept echoing over and over again. And it said, this heavenly voice said, love is the only thing that matters. Love is the only thing that matters. And it kept echoing over and over until I fully re-entered my physical body. And it echoes in my soul every day, thousands of times a day.
And for me, and I'll be as concise as I can, it is love. It is unconditional love. And it's that we have that choice, that I am in control of my life, that I am a manifestation of the divine creator in such a way that I can choose. I can choose to be angry. I can choose to be resentful, or I can choose joy, and I can choose to be love and to show up as the unconditional love that I experienced. And there aren't words to describe or explain that unconditional love that was a part of my experience. But coming back, it's like, wow, if I can be in some small way that for even one person, that's the takeaway for me.
Love is the thing that you come back for with, and once you've been in that unconditional love, you just have such a difficult time trying to put it into words to people, but it takes away so much in the way of judgment, in the way of anger, animosity, all those negative emotions. You're a human being. You're still living a very human life. And so you'll have encounters where those types of emotions come up to you. But knowing that unconditional love of our Creator is there within all of us just makes such a big difference. It's entirely different in how you go through every day. And when you have an opportunity to express that unconditional love to someone else, anyone that you might encounter, it just is so fulfilling to be able to do that and to be able to let them know that they are part of our Creator. They have that unconditional love as well. So that's what I've found is the most important thing.
I think I know one of your former guests is Christian. He wrote a book called A Walk in the Physical, and I learned so much from my colleagues, and I think that's a wonderful title. But I would agree with him that this is just an experience. It's an experience of ourselves, and most importantly, it's an experience of our inner being. And I think so much of this is being able to have recollection of how we are so much more than our judgments and the world that we were shaped in and brought up in. And it's just a reminder, from the greatest points of suffering that so many people have, that deep in there's an eye in the hurricane, and that's a beautiful place to be in. And I think near-death experiences and transformative experiencers really touch that point and remind everyone of that infinite reality as not just a possibility.
The question that I asked him that I think is the most relevant, not only for me personally, but for the one that I would want to share with anyone, was I asked him, this is when I was arguing with him about coming back. He told me I had to come back to this world and try and live the way he had created me to live in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a big argument with him. And part of that argument was, I said, well, if I were to come back, what do you want me to do? And before he could answer it, I said, what I'm going to do when I go back is I'm going to go out into the country. I said, I'm going to build a shrine to you. And I'm going to make it so wonderful and interesting and so big and so eclectic that people will be attracted to it, and they will come to want to see this shrine, to know you. And he said, don't. I don't want it. And I was shocked. I said, what do you mean you don't want it? We build shrines and cathedrals and things to you all over the world, and like, it's all there just to give you glory and, to get people to know you. And he said, those things are for people, but they're not for me. I don't need anything. I don't need any shrines. I don't need any buildings. I don't need anything. Those are for people, not for me, not for God. I was upset because he just shot down my big idea. And I said, what do you want me to do if I go back? And he said, love the person that you're with. And I said, okay, fine, but what else do you want me to do? And he said, no, that's what I want you to do. And I said, what good will that do? And he said, that'll change the world.